Come on and take time out and pull up a smile. Listen to something you can enjoy. Sit back and do something nice for yourself. Share it.
Welcome to Rod's Tabletop Hoops. This tabletop chat is pertaining to the American Basketball Association, which was around from 1967 through 1976, spanning 9 seasons. And the original reason the pseudo-wealthy people decided to put together the American Basketball Association was not only to compete with the established yet not thriving National Basketball Association, but was to get their foot in the door. You know, if a person, who owns a large business or someone had a few extra dollars to put into a professional team, they could not only obtain some goodwill, they could also be like a kid in a candy store trying to manage or run or own their own sports franchise. And it kind of became known that NBA franchises, even by the mid-'60s, they weren't, the NBA wasn't thriving at that time, but it was doing reasonably well. But to get into that league, you might have to spend have a bankroll of $100, $200, $500,000 or more to acquire or inquire to get an NBA franchise. Well, the NBA guys, this small group of maybe 10 owners or so, potential owners, decided, well, we can form our own league. And a lot of the people were bought in, a lot of these owners, by the fact that you could probably get in with just showing $100,000 or having a good credit score or having $5, $10, $15, $20, $50,000 available for a bond or just something very, very reasonably priced. So, and of course, the end game, with these ABA guys, was just not only to own a franchise, because they knew they probably were going to struggle financially, and they did struggle financially, but the ultimate end game was for this league to not only compete for the draft picks and the players that typically would go to the NBA, the collegians that got drafted, but also potentially force a merger with the bigger, more established league. Now, in year 1 and 2 and 3, the league, as expected, struggled a little bit, floundered a little bit, but they did survive the first 3 seasons. And a guy named Rick Barry decided before even year 1 that the Warriors were just not offering him enough money. He had just won the scoring title with the San Francisco Warriors at 35.6. Played his heart out in the playoffs and nearly won a championship. Will Chamberlain's 76ers said otherwise. And Rick had a choice, because the upstart ABA and Pat Boone of Oakland said, Rick, we're going to offer you an entertainment contract. We'll give you part of the gate receipts, which kind of became a farce because no one came, even though they played basically in the same arena as the San Francisco Warriors. Cal Palace to the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. But it just, the attendance was low. But either way, Rick had made his imprint, and he was not very popular. And he even admits today, he's in his 80s, he's probably saying to himself, why did I do that? But I think his basic opinion was, if at the time the Warriors weren't even being close to reasonable, that's why he accepted the Oakland Oaks offer, and which was just like $75,000 plus a lot of other, the incentives I mentioned. Well, anyway, after that, there's a few other players that decided to jump, but a lot of them had to sit out an option year, a court-ordered option year, because back then the ABA's reserve clause meant that those players, they were owned by that franchise. You had a choice back in the 60s and even early 70s. You either play for this team or you don't, and if we can't trade you, you're not playing for anyone else. If you don't accept our original contract offer, you can't move. And if we have to wait for you to sign your contract, you get a 10% decrease. You'll be paid 90% of what you played for the prior season. Pretty rough stuff. So NBA players were welcoming the ABA. And but eventually we got to around 1970-71 when the two leagues started talking and chatting. And of course, during that time, the NBA decided to add teams in Phoenix, Arizona, Seattle for the Supersonics, the San Diego Rockets became Houston, eventually Portland, Buffalo, and Cleveland all came in, the old Buffalo Braves. And you could see the NBA was a little bit intimidated by the upstart ABA because they wanted to start sealing off all of the locations for teams so the ABA couldn't compete with them. Well, even after that, the ABA and NBA started talking, and there was strong talk of a merger. And the merger was going to add, you almost can do the math. After Buffalo and Portland and Cleveland came in, you're roughly at 17 teams plus maybe a 10, 11, or 12 ABA teams. You'll roughly have a 30-team league, right where we're at today in the modern world of NBA basketball. So that was all being lined up. I even looked at an article written by Bill Sherman, and he was all for it. And he was even saying that the salaries would be bigger and everything like that. I didn't get the logic behind that, but the reason I bring that up is a pretty good point guard by the name of Oscar Robertson was the Players Association President of the NBA. And when it went to courts and they were trying to get through congressional hearings so they wouldn't be seen as being a monopoly combining the ABA and the NBA, Oscar stood up on the, on this stoop and protested this, saying, right now the ABA is our only alternate league to go to. It's our only form of player negotiation of contracts. So the ABA, they'd signed artists Gilmore and Dan Issel and a lot of other good college players. They also picked up players like Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown earlier, who had been banned for some basketball gambling scandals, which generally were not very well documented and not very true in many cases. Doug Moe, Tracy Jackson, a bunch of players that should have been able to play in the NBA, but the NBA didn't want to have a sniff of gambling in their sport. Ironically, we're getting that a little bit in these days because gambling is one of the huge reasons a lot of people watch basketball and other sports these days with FanDuel and all those other companies. But at this time, the NBA and ABA were that close to getting a contract together. And Oscar said, no, we're not doing that. We want our freedom. We want to be able to jump leagues if we have to. We want to be able to negotiate. Carolina Cougars can offer a contract, and so can the Milwaukee Bucks. So it ended up, I don't know if Oscar was the ultimate decisive player, but he was a very strong leader, not popular in a lot of his opinions. He isn't the most openly nice guy to talk to in many cases, but you almost need that type of leadership when you have a bunch of stuffy owners who think they are top of the world and you're second rate. So Oscar stood up, said no go to the American Basketball Association merging with the NBA. And what happened? The ABA played 1971 through 1976, 6 more seasons. And you can thank Oscar the Big O Robertson for stopping the ABA and NBA from combining. That also gives you the opportunity, in retrospect, to play some great ABA seasons of tabletop hoops cards. And that includes Hoops Tabletop Pro Basketball has 1971, 72, 74, 75, and 73, 74 of ABA seasons. Those seasons may not even have occurred had Oscar not stood up. There's also Legacy Status Pro games on the Tabletop Sports page where you can get Phil Graham's version of all ABA seasons. And of course, there's a lot of PC seasons through Stratomatic and the PC version of Hoops as well to enjoy the ABA seasons. They are a whole lot of fun because they're unique, they're individual, they have the red, white, and blue ball. And as you can see by some of this footage, I'm using my red, white, and blue ball to shoot some baskets on my side yard. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thanks for listening and have a good day.